was very impassioned, all the things he was saying, and it's a little bit complicated, and it's a little necessary to talk about this, youth sports and designing for the stakeholders, parents, coaches, and then kids. So I'm excited. I don't know where I should sit. Let's do this. I'm just going to sit down here. Here's really dynamic perspectives. We've got Craig is already smiling. We had a little pregame warm-up on this, so I think you're ready to go. Why don't you get out here? Craig Robinson, put your hands together, everybody, for the Executive Director of the National Association of Basketball Coaches. He also happens to be from Chicago, which we love. We have Michael Skolnik, founding partner of Soze, a social impact creative agency. Yeah, let's hear it for him, that works with nonprofits. Great to see you, my friend. And Frank Decembrino, the Chief Development Officer of EL1 Sports, a national sporting training company. How are you? Good to see you. And I'm so excited about this triangle, right? We got the coaches, the kids, and the parents. And I'm going to get into it. And I've got some questions, I think, for each of you. But I'm going to, you know what? Maybe I don't. I'm going to start with you, though. Frank, we're going to talk about the unique perspectives that you bring to the conversation, because there's your son's recruitment process to leading a youth sports organization, and, of course, as a teacher. What can you share with us about or that could be helpful, just sort of like treetop advice on how the parent is the customer and how that's maybe created some empathy as far as that relationship?
Yeah, it was, first of all, it's great to be here and be back at the conference. I look forward to it every year, and I always take away a lot of great information that we put into our organization. But I will say that going through the process as a parent this time, made me realize that it's very overwhelming, and there's a lot of information that we'll say the common parent does not know, and somebody like all of us that are in the industry have a hard time navigating. And the best thing that I can say is there are a lot of stakeholders in a child's journey. There's coaches, teachers, mentors, instructors, trainers. We have to find a way to really manage all of that and use those resources to help them find the realistic and practical landing spots that match their academic, social, and emotional needs. And I think that journey is what's important, but understanding that it is very daunting for these parents to embrace that, because the reality is their daydreams and their child's goals are not always aligned. And I think understanding that gives you a really good position in that conversation.
Both of you are going, nodding your heads. Craig, it is a bit complicated. What do you think is the main thing sort of getting in the way of parents being the most optimal, effective champions for the kids on and off the field?
Yeah, well, let me also add my thanks to being invited here. This is my first time, and I really want to thank Jeremy for inviting me. This has been a terrific day and great panelists. And before you all hate me after I make my remarks, no, I came to youth sports sort of backwards. You know, I started out coaching college kids, and as a college coach, I wasn't able to coach my older kids in youth sports. So I didn't really have a sightline into what was going on in youth sports until recently, now that I'm not coaching and I am coaching my younger kids. And what has been absolutely mind-boggling to me is the delusion of parents when it comes to their kids' abilities, dreams, as Frank pointed out. And that misalignment is, I wouldn't say it's not malicious. I think parents are, in this day and age, I found that parents are trying to curate an experience for their kid rather than let them experience sport on their own. And that is what I think is the biggest issue here. And I speak for basketball only. My kids, I've been involved in basketball almost my whole life. My kids have played other sports, but I would never coach a sport I wasn't an expert in, unlike most of the basketball coaches in youth basketball. I heard from a coach when I first got into coaching There are 3 things people think they can do: start a fire, 10 bar, and coach basketball. And I have found it to be the case now. So that's the angle that I'm coming from.
Craig, delusional is a strong
It's a strong
word.
word, but it is it's real because and I don't know how many of you are in the basketball youth sports space. I know the folks from the NBA who I have met and talked to understand what I'm talking about. But as a coach who actually knows what he's doing, I coach my kids, and then as soon as our huddle breaks, they start getting coached by a coach in this corner and a coach in that corner and a coach on the side. And
I don't think it's just basketball. It feels like a universal experience. Is that right? I'm not a parent.
well,
but
see,
everyone's literally everyone's
is it?
nodding.
Because I went to one of my kids' friends plays lacrosse. Not a word, because they don't have any idea what's going on.
So that's the key to just
That's what I think.
Learn
That's
how
what everybody thinks that they know what they're doing on the basketball
so
court.
encourage kids to play rugby and things that might
No,
not be as
no,
Americanized as other.
And I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, but that's what I'm seeing, and I was completely surprised.
Yeah.
Because I expected it at this sort of elite high level when I was going to look at kids to recruit them, because there's a lot at stake there. But at the sort of 11U, 12U, we don't know. We don't know what we have yet.
Michael, your son plays competitive soccer, so you're on both sides of this as well. If you see the empathy potentially for the parents or not, what is the key to this, or what's your perspective hearing what Craig is saying?
Don't be delusional. I played football, American football, baseball and basketball as a kid here in New York. My parents came to 3 games: 1 baseball, 1 basketball, 1 football. They were hippies. They didn't like sports. They didn't understand sports. And I was a good athlete. I wasn't a great athlete, but I was a good athlete. I went to UCLA to study theater, and all my friends were either theater kids or athletes. My girlfriend was the #1 tennis player in the country. My next door neighbor, she went to the Olympics 2004. My best friend played in the NFL for 11 years. Baron Davis went to the NBA. And I saw at an elite level what it takes to get to D1 school. Fast forward 20 years later, I have a child, a son, Mateo, who's here with me. And at 5 years old, we put him in a local Brooklyn summer camp. The coach says to us, he should join our team. Great, joins the team. Sends us the bill, $3,000. I'm like, shit, $3,000 for a 5-year-old to play soccer?
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So he comes home from practice.
I don't think Mateo knew how much it cost.
He doesn't remember this. He comes home from practice and he's upset. And I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Daddy, the kids are so big." I said, "What do you mean they're so big? You're 5." He said, "No, Daddy, the kids are so big." So I called the coach and said, "What's going on?" He says, "Oh, your son's exceptional. He's on the U8 team. He's 5. Oh, wow. Kindergarten." I said, "U8? 8-year-olds, 3rd graders. My son's in kindergarten." I said, no. He just wants to kick the ball around and have fun. So he plays for the season, and he stops. Doesn't want to play anymore. 3 years doesn't play soccer. We finally get him back in at 8. First game of the season, 3 goals, first 3 minutes. Coach says he can't play in this team. He's got to go to the travel team. I said, no. I just want him to have fun. Just kick the ball with his friends and have fun. No, he's too good. He's got to go to the travel team. He can't play in this team. He's too good for this league. I said, no. So the delusional piece, Craig, what I've seen now, my son plays 6 days a week on a travel team for ECNL. What I see is my #1 priority is that my son loves the sport. #1. #2, he makes friends. He's a captain of the team. He understands leadership and makes friends and has a crew of boys who he hangs out with 6 days a week. So, Mateo, after a game, how many questions can I ask? 3 questions. That's all I get. 3 questions. How do you feel? What can you improve upon? How did I do on the sidelines? Did my cell phone go off? Were they talking on the phone? How did I do on the sidelines? That's all I get, 3 questions. I can't analyze the game. I can't re-coach the game. I can't talk about it. Thank you, it's very kind of you. Because the last thing I want to do is destroy my son's love for the game. I am not here to make my son go pro. That's his dream, not my dream. If that's what he wants to do, he'll have to figure out how to navigate that with his league, with his coaches, with his family, with his friends. My dream is to grow a kind, compassionate, competitive young man.
Outlier.
Mateo, on a scale of like A to F, on average, what would you grade your dad? How's he been? A B plus. Let's go.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Great.
Is it difficult, Mateo, for you to maintain that B plus average?
What?
Is it difficult for you to maintain that, that average? It's like the parent-coach relationship, these healthy boundaries that you seem. Is it difficult? What would be your advice to parents?
This is your child's life. It's not yours. If you want to go pro, you should have gone pro. It's that simple, right? It's like if you were that good of a coach, you should have, signed up to coach and not coach in the sidelines. Again, my third question, how did I do on the sidelines? If I'm yelling and screaming, he lets me know, Daddy, you talk too much. You don't talk so much. And so in that, I think so many parents, what I've seen now, we play, 6 days, he plays 6 days a week. What I see so many parents, I love what you said, Craig, they are curating this fantasy for their child, and the child at 12, 13, 14 quits. Most kids will quit playing sports, except go to an elite program. They'll quit because that car ride home. When the parent, mostly the father, is trying to re-coach the game. You should have done this. You should have done that. I've seen a parent scream at their child after he won 6-0. I'm like, bro, what are you doing screaming at your child? We won 6-0. Go home and enjoy your Sunday afternoon.
Frank, I can tell you on in here. I feel like the parent-teacher relationship might be a model for what we'd like to happen between coaches and parents. What is it about that relationship that could potentially translate to help with these boundaries, other than making it, making a boundary of the parents not being able to attend practices and games?
Right. I think Steve made a lot of great points, and it was just a really incredible job by Steele and the way they outline expectations. And that's really all I know. I came from the education space before I got into this industry, and every business or every program that I've ever authored or been a part of always has come from that spirit of education. And our playbook is very similar. We have an orientation Zoomer meeting, which is back to school night. It's not like Steve said, this isn't an individual meeting session. It's here are the highlights, here are the expectations, the policies, the procedures, what you can expect, and here's our calendar. Parents really appreciate greatly the calendar. They have other children, they have jobs, they have lives, there's a social aspect. We try to keep that in balance. And then we have periodic check-ins, whether it's updates, highlights, constructive criticism, but we message home. And when you do that, you show that you care. And then we work really hard to see around every corner and to stay curious about our athletes. And we always ask ourselves, are we doing a good job? That is the work. That's the job. That's the effort comes, the muscle, the elbow grease comes from that. The actual sport and coaching and playing, that's my favorite. And I would assume my staff, we love being on the field. That is not the chore. It's our role and our responsibility to communicate, be proactive, and bring that classroom mindset to the dugout, sideline, locker room, whatever it may be.
It's beautifully said. Craig, you're a parent, you're a coach, you've done them both. What are the right ways to have these conversations with parents?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, and I will go back to what Steve said. I love the fact you have to have coaches who are trained to have these conversations. That's really important. And on the basketball front, we don't train our coaches. You don't have to be trained. Anybody can coach. But I think it's doesn't go far enough. I think there needs to be education for the parents as well. And that's a hard thing to accomplish, especially when this room is trying to commercialize the parents. I get it. But I think if you educate the parents, and Frank, you talked about this. It's you get repeat customers when they are informed on what the realities of this ecosystem are. So I think you have to educate your train and educate your coaches so that they can train and the parents. And then I will finish with the one thing that I find really interesting is parents ask me to hold their kid accountable when they cannot hold their kid accountable. So we have to work as a village to teach these parents how to hold their own kids accountable. And I'll give you an example. I've got one player whose mom calls me all the time. He's acting up in school. Can you get it to stop? And I just stop playing him, and he starts acting right in school. And then the whole process starts all over again. She calls me up. Can you get him to do? At some point, I had to tell her, you have to hold him accountable because I only get him for 2 hours a week. You have him the rest of the time. Those are hard. Those discussions are hard, especially if you work at the school that you are coaching at. So I feel for these high school coaches because it's a different world out here. Because if you talk to the kids a certain way, it comes back to your job. Me, I'm old. I'm almost at the end of it. I can say what I want to kids, but teachers can't. Teachers
I feel like
can't.
you need a reality show. I feel like I'd like to see that. Michael, what do you think the key is to striking some sort of balance? We can't alienate parents. In order to commercialize, you actually have to invite them in some way. What would be some suggestions that you have or things you've mulled over?
Yeah, I think that our Mateo's club is Brooklyn United here in Brooklyn. I think they have 10,000 kids in the program.
Wow.
And I have one son, one kid. So what happens at practice or at a game is highly influential in my life. My kid comes home upset, my whole day changes. Doesn't necessarily change for the club. What I think is missing is parents actually having resources from other parents who have done this. When we were growing up, you played 3 sports, or you played one sport, and you had 2 practices a week. He's playing 6 days a week at 12 years old at an elite level. Traveling, we go this weekend to Albany and to Western Massachusetts to play 2 games, and those are regular season games, right? 3-hour drives. Just this week in 2 days. And so parents not having enough resources from other parents, I think our club does a great job actually in trying to talk to the parents and how to work with the club, but there's not enough parents because most of the parents, sadly, Craig, are a little delusional. And so you hear in the sidelines, oh, my kid's going here next year, or my kid's going there next year, or we're talking to MLS next, or we're doing this. It's like, wait a second. I'm just trying to grow a good human. And so having those conversations, more resources, more books, more magazine articles, more Medium posts, more Substacks, more podcasts from parents who have gone through this would be really, really helpful. And I think that's one piece that's missing in youth sports at that level.
I'm looking at Mateo over there taking pictures of you, giving you a B+. He's giving you a thumbs up. He's so proud.
I went to an A-.
How have you seen that's a lot of investment of time for him. How have you seen the youth sports affect him as a person as you talk about developing the player, but more importantly, the person?
I'll tell one quick story and then I'll shut up. They played up a year last year to under 13. They were 11 in a separate league. And the kids are big, 11, 12, 13 boys, puberty, right? Big difference. Had my size versus his size. His team goes up 4-1 in the first half, playing up here in Queens. And Mateo, after the 4th goal, turns to his team and he screams at his team in a loving way. He says, no easy shit, no easy shit. No ball gets past us at 4-1. And the parents looked at me like, yo, Mateo, and one of his best friends on the team, Eze, he plays right wing. He's sort of on the sidelines, next to the parents. And Eze looks at me. He's like, "Yo, you let your son talk like that?" I don't say a word. Right? The second half, the team comes back 4-4. They very physical, push the kids around, get back 4-4. About 30 seconds left in the game. A striker on the opposing team gets the ball, gets free, 15 feet from the goal to win the game, hits the ball, strikes the ball, misses wide right. Tie game, ends the game 4-4. The kid who missed the ball goes to the ground crying. Had a friend of mine with me at the game. I said, watch Mateo. Just watch him. I knew what he was going to do. Mateo goes over to the kid and kneels down next to him and gives him a hug and picks him up and walks him off the field. They were battling. Mateo's a center back, and this kid's a striker. They were battling all game. What I saw from my son was, and masculinity right now, we know is there's a battlefield, especially for our young boys. What I saw from my son was that full breadth of competitive, no easy shit, to compassion, right? To showing love for his teammate.
Mateo, stand up.
Yeah. You can stand up.
Stand up, Mateo. Let's give you a round of applause. Unbelievable.
And I give credit to his coaches and to the club, right, for teaching him how not just to be an athlete, but how to grow up to be a man, and how to express those feelings on and off the field. And so for me, what I look for in this young man's journey is to be in a loving environment, a competitive environment. These coaches push him hard, that tough love, and also to be in an environment where he can express himself fully, and to know that it's okay to want to win, and it's also okay when you don't win to show love.
Really well said.
Can you play basketball?
He can.
But like you were telling me earlier, every parent thinks they have a Mateo. Every parent thinks that they have.
It's really, and I don't know what it is about basketball, but the majority of parents think they have a Mateo.
And how do you handle that?
I personally try and be as forthcoming and honest with feedback. But I tell you, when I was coaching in college, it was easier because in college, you don't have to deal with the parents, but you have to deal with the parents. And when someone wasn't happy with something, I just invited them to practice. And you invite them to practice, and it happened to me a handful of times. You don't hear from them ever again. It's harder to do that at the youth level because the differentiation and skill level isn't as obvious, but you could do that. You could invite them to practice and have them take a look empirically for themselves.
Frank, does that work?
I do something similar. I've done it when I was a volunteer coach in the Babe Ruth organization, and a lot of my players, I became friends with the parents, and I started hearing this chatter about where they think their kid's going to wind up. So, being in the Philadelphia suburbs, we're very fortunate. There's a lot of universities near us, so we took a field trip to watch Villanova play George Washington, which was an A-10 in conference battle, and we got there early and we watched pregame, we watched coaches' meetings. The coach Villanova was very gracious. The kids came up, and it was a canon moment for everybody because they got to see up close what Division I, Atlantic 10 base, or Big East baseball, I should say, between Atlantic 10 opponent looked like in real life, and that kind of level set everybody. They were like 12 years old, and wow, that was like, I don't think that you turn on TV and some sports you can see, like basketball and football, but to really look at like a softball game, a baseball game, or a college soccer game, I think the general public has this idea what it is, and unless you've been there, you really know what it is, and there's not a connection there. So I love that come to practice, which is difficult with youth, but there's other avenues you can go down to get that point across.
Frank, what's different right now about recruiting? You've been in the game a long time, different than when we were kids. I very much with my parents dropped me off and picked me up. As far as NIL, et cetera.
Yeah, so everything is the answer. Goes back to empathy for parents, trying to understand that when these changes happened over the last couple of years, a blunt instrument was used to burst a lot of bubbles. And parents were looking at older siblings and their neighbors' kids and the race that they ran. They wound up to be Division I or Division II, and they think that that's still the same as it was 5 years ago, and it's just not. I'll speak directly to baseball because I know it the most, but the Power Four, the highest level Division I programs, very rarely take kids right from high school unless they show up on campus able to compete with world-class players at that level. There is a very short runway now for developing talent. It's been professionalized because of NIL and the financial aspect of the game. So if you were them and you're competing for a national championship and your job, you can go to a Division III, II, or another mid-level Division I school or JUCO and recruit a 21-year-old that has 500 college at-bats and is 21 physically, or you can get the 17-year-old kid who hasn't seen a fastball over 85 miles per hour for 2 years. It's not unrealistic if you put yourself in the coach's shoes, right, to make that decision. They're going to make the one that's going to help them win now, and that has a trickle-down effect. The biggest thing that's changed for myself and my partner Dave is over the years, there was a pathway. You work hard, got to a certain level, physical, capabilities are there. You can be recruited, and there's a runway to get on the field. That's just not the case today. And Duke, we go to ABCA every year, and you talk to players and coaches, actual people who are in the arena, and they'll tell every parent they meet, get in where you fit in academically, culturally, socially, and on the field. If you go over your handlebars, there's a chance you might not be on the team come winter break. And the parents are still having a hard time coming to grips with that reality. I think it's more of a reflection on them than it is the kid. I think the players really want to be wanted and find that home away from home where they can get 4 more years. If they don't get on the field, there is no next level, right? So that's what's changed drastically. It's professionalized very much.
And Frank, so that shrinks the numbers, right? Prospective student athletes are not getting recruited in basketball unless you're top 50 to 75. I mean, just think about that. Top 50 to 75. So that's about it. Everybody else is, so that pushes everybody else down. So if you were a mid-major Division I level player, you are going Division II. And then if you were a Division II player, you're going Division III, you're going NAIA, whatever. And there are a whole host of student athletes who go into the portal, transfer portal, which was part of this NIL thing, that don't get jobs after that. So these are current ready-made college players who can't get recruited. So when you add up the numbers, then that's where I get to the delusional thing, because when you try and explain that to people, then everyone thinks their kid is the exception.
Can we I'm coming from a place of, ignorance and naivete. Can we set different expectations up front? Like, how important
100%.
is it then, from the jump to be like, we're here to have fun. Let's all relax now. Because what you guys are saying, the numbers are staggering. Can we intro that to these parents and caretakers sooner to set expectations, or is that
I think so. Yeah, I think
part of the education process?
Yeah, somebody earlier, and I apologize for not remembering who the speaker was off the top of my head, but made a great comment that we have to change the way that we advertise ourselves. It's in our model. It's not a race to this objective finish line. It's the journey. It's all of the great things you get out of the sport along the way. That's the good stuff. Be where your feet are. And it's amazing to me how, I have a daughter who's into music. We do, flute lessons, and she loves it, and she does it all the time. She plays. We never sign up and do these recitals or anything. She's going to play at, Carnegie Hall. It's a part of her life. It's a discipline. It's made her a better person, more well-rounded. She respects the arts more. But with the sport, we look at it differently. Like there's this finite goal that has to be achieved, or everybody involved is a failure. And you talk to a lot of accomplished athletes. The greatest moments of their lives are that journey there. And I just want to leave with one quote I heard from my partner, Dave Amaro, who's run the Philly Bandits for a long time, has had the opportunity to have Major League Baseball players. And one recently spoke to our younger teams and said, you are all looking up at me and you're jealous because, I'm on the Cleveland Guardians, but I'm looking down at you and I'm jealous of where you are right now. And I thought that was really profound. And I think parents need to hear that at the beginning of the journey, and it kind of set the bar.
Yeah, if I could just add, I think to maintain that love of the sport until that child goes to college, no matter if they play D1, D2 or not, or D3. I made films in my previous life, and I made a sports movie about a basketball player that Allen Iverson sort of loved and called me and said, I want you to make a movie about me. I spent 2 years with Allen, working with Allen on a film. And he turned to me one day, we were in Atlanta, Georgia, and he said, Michael, he called me White Mike. He said, White Mike, you found a way to still stay in the sport without playing it professionally. And my son, after he spoke to a nice gentleman here who played MLS, this afternoon. I don't know if he's still here. As we're walking to sit down, he said, Daddy, if I don't make it pro, I want to be a coach. And there's 16,000 or 20,000 jobs in the NBA or in professional basketball that if you don't go pro, there's still a way to stay in the game if you love the game. That young people should also know about. That's a pathway to still stay part of the sport. If your dream to go pro doesn't come to fruition, there's still ways to be involved in the sport. So if my son loves this sport so much, being pro is not the only avenue to stay in the game. He could be a coach, he could be a statistician, he could be a GM, he could be design the merchandise. There's so many different ways to be involved in the sport that it's not just going pro.
Okay, I will just say we just have to get White Mike to do a movie about himself as a parent.
I agree.
I mean, it's fantastic, man.
Teach a masterclass.
I mean, if I had 8 of him on the sideline, then I could get some stuff done at practice.
What advice would you give, Craig, to coaches out there that do deal with the influx and the adversity?
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask both of you the same question to wrap it up here.
I would encourage the coaches to get some training, and I know there's no formal training out there for this, but if I know our members of the NABC, our coaches welcome young coaches to come watch practice, be in meetings, watch film, learn the profession, and then take it back to their teams. I think that will go a long way. Just being a bit more professional will help, and then being comfortable with the uncomfortable conversations you have to have with parents. And you just have to do it.
Y'all are doing the Lord's work. Michael, your best advice for coaches.
I just want to say a sense of gratitude for the coaches. I think you all don't hear it enough who work in sports. You are an equal partner in the development of my child, as is the teachers in school. And so I look at as Mateo's coaches with a deep sense of gratitude for the love they put into my child every single day on the practice field or on the field. So I think working with young people, I worked with young people my whole life. You obviously love young people, and you've devoted your lives, whether you're a coach or whether you're part of a league or part of an organization, to the development of our children. That is a noble, beautiful effort. So I try to tell parents, like, say thank you. Say thank you as much as you possibly can, because these coaches are underpaid, overworked, running from one job to driving Ubers at night so they can coach you soccer, and they're doing a damn good job teaching our children how to be better humans.
Craig is going to have you come talk to his parents.
Happily. I'm a fan of this guy, so happily.
Frank, wrap it up.
Just to take a page from education, we have professional development, which is in a lot of disciplines, but having coach development, like just to echo Craig, I think the more you can bring the education, to the parents, to the coaches, and evangelize the goals and what we're all kind of rowing towards, it kind of breaks down those barriers of misunderstanding and gets everybody aligned. But I think coach development, I couldn't agree with you more. And I would love for you to come talk to our parents. If you do decide to do
Frank, Craig, Michael with a bunch of new jobs lined up. Thank you so much for your perspective, your expertise. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. And I'm sure you guys will be available for questions around. We have a whole day tomorrow. This has been really special. We will close out. Thanks, guys. You can bounce. There we have a seasoned.